So I'm pretty excited to share with you. We're taking a much different approach to the standard approaches for atrial fibrillation, but most of us know a relative or have a friend that has atrial fibrillation, so we'll just briefly discuss this and what the problems might be. So really what happens is that when you get atrial fibrillation, your heart starts to quiver, it starts to fibrillate, and it doesn't eject the blood. And when that happens, stale blood will start to clot, and then it can go to your brain. And really the risk of stroke is the biggest thing. But there's also contributions to heart failure. So what is standard today really fails patients about half the time. So we're going to go through the treatments. If you have atrial fibrillation, we'll walk through exactly what the treatments are. So if I had 30 minutes, I'd take you through a journey of our company, our milestones, and things like that. But we're going to cut it kind of briefly and just speak specifically to the investors right now. So basically, it's a giant market, in excess of billions of market. Ours is about a $2 billion market space. There's an unmet need. Again, there's really no great solution for atrial fibrillation. What we have is a disruptive technology using that pulse field technology, but we're taking a different approach and a different target. And we've got 36 patients treated. So I'm very excited to share that with you and to share our success of our team. Again, I could take you through the detail of the market size, but really it ultimately comes down to the fact that this is a huge market and it's growing for really two reasons. There's a greater awareness of atrial fibrillation. My Apple Watch will tell me if I have it or not. Physicians know about it, they're targeting it more, but also we're getting older. So this market's growing about 14%. So this space is getting bigger and bigger as we go forward. So the first line of treatment, if you have AFib, feels like a fish in your heart if you have symptoms. So you sort of, you go to the A&E or you go to the emergency room, and they'll give you drugs, and those drugs work about, I'd say about 70% of the time they fail. So they'll work about 30% of the time. The key here is that if you get those drugs, you still feel really bad. So it slows things down, you're lethargic, and those drugs impact every organ in your body. And specifically, the most successful one, amiodarone, will start to take its effect on your lungs. So the long-term prognosis for drugs is not good. If you want to proceed into what they call this ablation, which Avi and then David's going to speak about, basically they're going to go inside your heart, and that's key, inside your heart, and they're going to create these scars using heat or laser or cold around your pulmonary veins, because a lot of the entry for the signals that are coming from outside your heart travel through these sort of like motorways or highways. So they intentionally scar your heart. And the problem with that is that after a while, after about 12 months, 30% of the people that fails, they have to have a second ablation. After about 3 years, about half those people will have another ablation, and those procedures get more aggressive, so they start to take out more tissue. So they basically go in and intentionally burn or freeze healthy heart tissues. So that is the standard of care today. And again, what we're doing is taking a completely different approach. So this is what is called an endocardial or inside the heart approach. And we're taking an epicardial approach. We're going outside. So what you see here is a surgical theater that we treated. This is actually in Homolka in Prague, one of the best electrophysiology sites in the world. And you see our team there. There's John's all gowned up. I think he's watching this online. You're looking good, John. And you'll see Martin Van Ziel from Mayo Clinic is there, along with Dr. Scalzi and Peter Neusel and Vivek Reddy. We're overseeing this as well. And our system is a giant generator that delivers these very, very intense high voltage pulses that we have these specialized catheters to deliver this treatment on the outside of the heart. Now, our first studies are open chest, so we can have full visualization of the targets, and that would be the next step. So the high-resolution conversation here is we're actually interrupting the autonomics. So we're going for cardio-neuroablation, and that's quite a mouthful. But you'll realize that that's being done for other sort of neuromodulation or neuroablation for things like blood pressure, Parkinson's, et cetera. So that's sort of the new field that we're addressing here. And again, we're also taking a different approach. We're not going inside the heart, we're going outside the heart. So we do just a small scalpel, we slip the catheter under the breastbone and then target these 5 specific sites in the heart. If I go backwards here, you can kind of look at these sites. This is what connects your brain to your heart, and those are the actual sites that we're targeting and sort of ablating and sort of taking these hyperactive cells down a notch, almost like you're oversteering or something in a car. So we sort of ablate that, and it sort of calms the heart down, and it should be permanent. So a lot of competing people in this space. Obviously, ablations are huge, and you'll see most of them are trying to move to this pulse fields because it has a higher safety profile, but the outcomes seem to be about the same. So it's the definition of, what if you try to do something over and over and over again, and you're expecting a different result? And that's exactly what's happening from this endocardial approach. We think that the endocardial plus the epicardial as an additive or concomitant procedure, which can be done on different days, is really going to move the needle, because this was invented, ablations were invented in Bordeaux about 20 years ago, and the last decade, there really hasn't been any significant progress on the outcomes. We're going to change that. So again, we've treated 24 patients in 2 centers in Prague and Tbilisi, and that was safety and efficacy trial. Again, there's our Mayo team along with the Prague team. And then we just recently closed out 12 patients enrollment in Tbilisi in June. So now we're monitoring the outcomes for their AFib recurrence. 3 months should be coming in quickly. The real powerful data is going to come in at 6 months and, of course, 12 months. So it's going to take about $30 million to get through FDA approvals. We've got a nice plan. We're detailing that out as we speak. Again, robust IP portfolio. The technology came from Mayo Clinic, from Sam Asirvatham, arguably one of the top electrophysiologists in the world. So that IP was constructed very, very well, and we've added to that in a sense. So the question is really, why now? Why is this important? Well, pulse field is now becoming really accepted in the cardiac space, as we know from the Farapulses, Medtronic student studies. These gentlemen here are going to tell you about their technologies as well. And it was originally developed for oncology and the clinical application. Now, the only targets that are really remaining that really are undiscovered, really untapped, are the epicardial targets. So again, we're going after the origin of the problem. So the first principles would suggest that if you really want to stop something, you go at the very root cause of that. And so previous trials used RF energy. They actually tried these epicardial targets, but because of the burning, they couldn't actually get all these targets that we're able to do. In fact, we're the only company that's ever globally ablated all of these sites. And so there's really been no significant progress in the current treatments. We got a remarkable team, but let me talk a little bit about a few characters on here. I know we don't have a lot of time. First of all, our team has been extraordinary. We treated 36 patients in the face of COVID, with a lot of COVID hotels we stayed at, and crossing borders. It was a real challenge, but we got the work done. So our team, especially Barry and John there, we're just fantastic at this. We've added Mark Carlson. That's been done very recently. Mark Carlson, he was the CMO, the Chief Medical Officer for St. Jude, and then of course Abbott. So we just brought him on as a director. And then John Hunt also, we just elevated him to chair position on our board, and he's had 3 significant exits in the AFib space. The most recent was Barty. So I think that's knocking around $1 billion exit for John. And again, I just want to thank you for your time. I'd love to talk to you at any time. And hello to my family and my dad. Great. Thanks.